Moonman TI-200 combines two things that I like a lot in a fountain pen. A sleek body with a hooded nib in the style of Parker 51, and it's made out of titanium. As such, when the pen came out, I kind of jumped on it. In all honesty, deep down I was hoping that maybe Hero will be able and do this, since I do like their Hero 100 lineup, and Hero 100 Ti really appeals to me. Alas, Moonman took the dive, and I have to be honest, they did an amazing job. At least it's definitely better than the modern version Parker 51. I purchased the fountain pen from AliExpress and I paid around 123 Canadian dollars with an $8 discount and free shipping. As you can see, as most of my titanium fountain pens, I already went ahead and I anodized the fountain pen and managed to get a pretty cool, in my opinion, and an almost perfect fade. As you will see, once I remove the cap, it goes from gold to this darker purple, and I do have a little bit of brighter purple accents on the cap finial and the middle band, as you will see. As you can see, the fountain pen has an iconical sub shape, which is very reminiscent to the Parker 51 shape, and pretty much any other fountain pen that came after and copied it. Cap and barrel ends into a conical shape, which remind us of the jewel ends that again Parker 51 used to have. Clip, it's actually pretty nice, fairly usable. It's not as smooth and as springy as other fountain pens, however, it's definitely usable. Doing the shirt test, clip slides over the cloth fairly easy, not a lot of effort in there. And this is how much it will stick out of your shirt. And coming off just as nice and as easily. On the cap, what we have is the old logo, the Moonman logo, not the Mahjong, and no other features on the cap, just the clip, the Moonman logo, and that's it. Between the cap and the barrel, we do have a little bit of gap, so there's a little bit of play in the body. However, it doesn't seem to affect anything on the pen, and I haven't had any scratches on the barrel because of that. This specific cap, I would not call it a slip-on or slip-off cap, because this specific cap does some noises, clicking noises more specifically. So basically I would call this a push on pull off cap rather than slip. And as you already seen, the clipping mechanism is very similar with the Lamy 2000 mechanism. You have three little protrusions, which is pretty much a spring that clips on a groove inside the cap, and I think you can see it right there. This section is actually a really nice section, very nice and comfy, and gives the pen a very sleek look. There's absolutely no step up or step down between the section and the barrel, and we do have this nice middle ring that holds the spring for the clip-on mechanism. One thing to note, I know that a lot of people do dislike these prongs because they might be on your fingers depending on your hand grip. However, if you take the pen apart, you can move these around, so this way at no point in time your fingers will sit on those prongs. And for me, the way I hold it, it's pretty much perfect. My fingers will never touch those prongs. Also, I tend to keep the pen a little bit more on the section this way, and again, it's below those prongs. Anyway, going back to the cap, as you can see, not a lot of features. You can see the groove where the prongs clip inside the cap, and we do have an inner sleeve and a little bit of a screw at the end that you can unscrew in order to remove the clip and you can take the entire cap apart. And as I mentioned, I managed to get a pretty good fade on this fountain pen. This was not flame anodized. This was actually done via electricity. And I like the idea of going from the gold, 14K gold nib, and then slowly fade into the purple. And the reason I done the cap as purple as well is because when posted, it continues that fade more or less. Anyway, this nib, as mentioned, this is a 14K gold nib, actual gold nib. When I took it apart, I had all the inscriptions. Unfortunately, I was too excited working on anodizing it and I never took a picture of it. However, a very simple feed and nib mechanism, which is very common for this type of fountain pens. The only thing that I'll mention is that on this specific pen, the nib sits a little bit more out of the section that I would probably like it. For example, on Hero 100, you can barely see the tip of the nib. And I must admit, I like that look a little bit more because it makes it more cleaner. However, this is not bad either. It doesn't really bother me. Definitely not a deal breaker for me. The barrel, it's a twist barrel, obviously, as most of the pens are. And we do have an O-ring that holds it in place nicely and securely. One thing to mention here, I have changed the O-ring. The original O-ring that came with the pen was a little bit thicker, and as such I had an issue that every time I was trying to open it, that O-ring was holding onto the barrel so well that my section was actually opening. As such, I decided to change the O-ring with something a little bit smaller that still grabs on the barrel very nice, very well, not a problem, but it's not as aggressive as the white one. As a fun fact, also, the white one, as I was forcing it, it kept on creeping over the threads and it chewed itself to death. So much better that O-ring. So if you have the same issues, try and change it. And once we remove the barrel, we do have a nice converter that comes with the fountain pen and works very nicely. One odd thing that a lot of reviewers showed as well, the converter came with this agitator, but it also had a bowl on top of that. Odd thing, as soon as I removed it, the bowl just fell out, which was weird. However, I never added it back because it's not needed and it's a little bit of an overkill. This converter is also serviceable. You can open it very easily. So if by any chance that bowl doesn't doesn't fall off on you, you can open it up and remove both agitators if you do not want them. I think the barrel of the converter is wide enough that I don't think there's a need for agitators, but then again, it depends on the ink that you are using. And having a look inside the barrel, well machined, straightforward, no complaints in there, and yeah, it's nice, clean, and well done. In hand, the fountain pen, it's actually pretty nice. I like the balance he has, and I like the feeling that it gives me. As you probably know, if you've been watching my channel for a while now, I do like these body pens. I love the feeling that they have and the sleek look that he has. And speaking of balance, this specific one, it's pretty much in the middle, maybe a little bit towards the nib side. However, if by any chance you find this pen not long enough, even though for me it's actually sticking above my knuckle, even when holding it quite considerably up on the section, the pen does post, and it posts beautifully. And you'll still have a gap when it posts, so I would be maybe a little bit careful with that. It might scratch the body of the pen, and if you have a nice anodized pen, you might scratch it and you might not like that. However, unless you drop it or you do it on purpose, I don't think that really is going to be the case. Anyway, when posted, the pen actually has more weight to it, which personally I do not dislike. I'm not sure yet how I'm going to want to use this pen. When pointing it down, it does feel a little bit top heavy, but not by much. However, I do feel the weight, and as such, for now I'm unsure how I'm gonna like it. Balance wise, it's a little bit higher, so it shifts pretty much from here to there. So it is just a little bit top heavy. An additional thing to mention, so as you write or as you move the pen around, the converter will hit on the inside of the barrel, and that agitator inside makes quite the racket as you handle the pen. So if you find that annoying, remember you can always remove that agitator without an issue. So this is the fountain pen, not much else to add. Sleek, cool looking, and well, you can definitely make it your own by adding your own custom colors to it by anodizing that titanium. So yeah, I'm kind of excited about the fountain pen. I always liked it. I have used it previously. However, I did not use it posted. I will try today and use it posted and see if I like it or not. And yeah, let me dive into a small writing sample, and then I will start doing a nice sketch with it. Alright, for today's ink, I'm trying again the carbon black ink, since I had issues last time with the Duke fountain pen. And one thing to mention on this fountain pen, which I forgot since last time I used it, because of the fitting system that it has designed and a very tall tube or collar where the converter clips in, you will never be able to actually get a full feel of this converter. Also, if you try and fill it with a syringe and then put it in, you will still have the same issue. And then if you try and take out the converter out again, you're gonna have some problems with that. So accept it, live with it, don't just remove it. Ink will drip out of it. And if you remove the converter, remove it when you're out of ink, or at least above a sink. So this is Moonman TI 200 fountain pen. The flow is actually pretty good, maybe too good for what it is. When I bought the pen, I ordered the extra fine nib. Turned out not to be that extra fine. As you can see, the line is more of a medium, fine to medium, and very juicy. The flow is very good, and the nib is very smooth actually. However, the good thing about it is that on reverse, you do get an extra finer line. I haven't tried this nib yet on the Fabriano paper, so on this specific paper behave as you see, and the ink seems to feather slightly, but we'll see if on Fabriano paper will be better. Okay, so I think I prefer it unposted mostly, or better, I would say. And yeah, the nib, at least on this paper, very juicy. So if you like a juicy nib, this is it for you. But it's very, very smooth. I like it. It's beautiful actually. Even on reverse, no scratchiness, nothing. This is a nicely behaved nib, at least the one that I have on my copy. A little bit of skip if I go fast, like fast strokes, which is expected on reverse, to be honest. Kind of like it that way. No skips as I do it normal side of the nib. And the line seems to tend a little bit to be a little bit thinner. Yeah, so flow is good, everything works properly, no complaints so far. So let me try and go into a sketch and hopefully I'll get something nice with it. Today I try something a little bit different. Still neurographic style drawing, but I had this Winsor & Newton gold ink that I wanted to try for a while. Unfortunately, never had the chance yet. Well, I did attempt to try it once when I tried the first attempt on drawing on Event Horizon with the Picasso 916, but the results were not that great. So today I wanted to use it as a splatter around and behind this floating tree that I decided to try. I think it turned out okay, probably hard to show in the video. Even during the scanning the color didn't seem to come out properly, but this thing has a nice sparkle to it as you look at it on the paper, depending on how the light hits it. Towards the end, I also decided to bring a splash of Yamabudo and a little bit of the blue-black from Bamni. All in all, it was fun and relaxing and fun, well, at least for me. As for the fountain pen, worked like a dream without any issues. The flow of the ink was actually a little bit on the wet side, a little too wet for my type of drawing. As such, I actually ended up using it the entire time on the reverse side. That gave me the perfect line and flow that I wanted. I really like this 14K nib. I really have no complaints towards it. What do I like about the Moonman TI 200? Well, personally I like pretty much everything about the fountain pen, with maybe one exception. It ticks all the boxes for me. A sleek titanium body fountain pen with a smooth and fun 14K hooded nib and a nice cap that clips on with a beautiful action. Beautiful balance and weight in hand, at least for me, and converter is included. And yeah, I guess it's a pretty cool pen in my opinion. If there is one thing that I would have liked on this pen is to also have the clip made of titanium. Would have completed the look so much better, and I could have had a nice matching anodized fountain pen. I would have loved to make it a bright purple like I have on the middle band and on the finial for the cap. Anyway, maybe a future version if they ever make another one. And the other thing that is more of a nitpicking for me, I wish the nib would have been a little bit deeper inside the section like you have on Hero 100. But again, that's nitpicking. Bottom line, I think that this pen overall, it's a really good fountain pen and I really like it. And I think in the end it comes down to everyone's preference. It ticks all the boxes for me, but it might not for you. If you don't like hooded nibs or you don't like a heavier fountain pen or a metal fountain pen, you most probably won't like this either. So, in the end, basically, buy responsible and buy what you like. Anyway, this is where I end my blabbering, so enjoy the rest of the time lapse. And if you have any other questions, as usual, please leave a comment below and I will try and get to it as soon as I can. Thank you kindly for joining me today. Hope I'll see you next time, and I wish you all the best and a wonderful day or night, wherever you are. Take care. Bye.